Hi there, this is Maureen Folan with the Maureen Folan Real Estate Group, and today we're talking with our favorite client, Rosina DeMarco. We just sold her house in Floral Park. She had been living in her home for over 40 years, and today we're going to speak to Rosina about what it's like to downsize, what made her come to this point in her life, and just how this whole process has been for her. So, Rosina, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Rosina is literally sitting in boxes and she's moving in just a couple of days. So really in the thick of it. So I really appreciate her time to be able to give us this interview. So been living in your home for over 40 years in the town of Floral Park. What made you decide it was the right time to sell after being in your home for so long?
I really love my house. I love living in Floral Park, and the only reason I'm leaving is that my one daughter and grandchildren live in Chicago, and my other daughter in Philadelphia is relocating to Chicago. So my whole family is going to be there.
Right. So it makes sense for you all to be together, and you don't need this big house anymore because your kids have grown up and moved on, and it makes sense that you want to be together. That's what we're seeing a lot of today. A lot of our sellers, people who are selling in the marketplace, are people who downsize and move closer to family. What did your home mean to you after so many years of living here?
It was very interesting. As I was packing, I had memories in almost every room because I came here when my oldest daughter was 3 months old, and we lived through everything here. We lived through our family expanding. We lived through, good times and bad times, and this became the place where everybody wanted to be. It's the place where all the nieces and nephews come for cookie day every year. We celebrate all the holidays here, and there are 15 or 20 people all over the house together. So the whole family is really sad about the changes to come, but we're kind of excited about the new chapter because there's a new baby coming. And I thought that was so wonderful that you were so mindful of my time frame, that I want to be in Chicago by May to get to be there with the new baby. So, lots of good things, but sad leaving because this was such a great house.
Yes, well, all your memories are here, right?
Yeah.
And you take them with you, and when you move on, you create new memories. So everyone kind of gets to this stage at some point, but 40 years living in one place is a lot of memories, a lot of happy times, and it's wonderful that all your family's going to be together in one spot.
And what a wonderful town. I grew up in Floral Park. So the only time I didn't live here was the 3 years that I was in an apartment as a newlywed and when I went to college. And it's just been such a wonderful place to live. I hope I can find a place I'm as connected to and that I love as much as I love living here.
I'm sure you will. And so you said you grew up in Floral Park and then you decided to make it your home to raise your family. Why did you choose Floral Park for that?
When we were house hunting in the 80s, everywhere we looked, I'd say, this will be good until it's time for them to go to school, then we'll move back to Floral Park. And finally, my husband said, let's just move back to Floral Park. I went to Ivy League schools from Floral Park. I went through the system. The educational system here is wonderful. I'm an educator. I really appreciate the goals that the community has and all the services to really support the kids in the schools and in the community. So it was an ideal place.
Right, and that's one thing about Floral Park. What I found is that a lot of times when kids grow up here, they do want to come back here to raise their families here, and that says a lot for the neighborhood.
Ironically, when my girls were little, one was about 4 and the other was about 1.5 years old, we were sitting at the kiddie pool at the Floral Park Rec Center. And everybody was like looking at each other, and it wasn't, do I know you? It was, what year did you graduate from Memorial? And it was that so many people had come back.
Right.
So I found that very interesting, and I started one of my neighbor's daycare businesses there because her kids were friends with my kids, and she lived down the block. So I would bring my children to her, and then I could get to school. So I was a teacher at the time. And she'd give them breakfast. They'd all walk to Floral Park Belrose together. She'd pick them up at the end of the school day and take them to their activities. And then I would get home in time to pick everybody up. So this woman started a business that lasted for over 20 years.
Gosh.
With my 2 girls. And my youngest daughter is still best friends with this woman's daughter to this day.
Oh, that's such a nice story.
Yeah.
When you decided to list your house, what emotions came up?
I've been struggling with the decision to sell my house. And I knew that there was going to be a time that I just really had to do it. So when over the past 4 years, I drive back and forth to Chicago 4 or 5 times a year. And it's a 14-hour drive each way. It's a 2-day adventure. And I knew there was going to come a time where it was really, I couldn't do it anymore. So when I came to the decision, I was driving home after Christmas of this year. And I knew when I came back, it was time to reach out to a realtor. I'd already connected with you ironically at a party in September and told you I was planning in January to sell my house. So I knew just even putting it out there in the universe, I had to do it. So I was very sad driving home. I cried through the whole state of Indiana.
Oh, wow.
And after that, I was like, okay, now, you're good, you got this. And my daughters, to this day, they're amazed because they keep going, are you okay? And I said, yeah. Once I got to the point where I had to make the decision, this is the decision and this is time, then I was good with it. But when I had that little bit, yeah. And it was very sad to do it. It took me over a year to prep, just to downsize. I started about a year and a half ago throwing 3 things out every day.
That's really smart.
Yeah, I started in the summer throwing stuff out from my garage because in Floral Park you can only throw out big stuff on Wednesday. So every Tuesday afternoon there would be a line of stuff from the garage that was getting thrown out. And it took me many months, but it really was a long kind of, it was a process, but I knew I was doing it by myself and I had to just keep moving forward. So once I made the decision, I was good with it.
Right, but this wasn't a quick decision. This is something that had been in your mind for a while and you were thinking about it, talking about it, kind of figuring out your next moves and also preparing for it by every day, every week, like you said, decluttering, getting rid of things that you knew you weren't going to be taking, slowly but surely. So it wasn't one huge job at the end.
No.
That's a mistake that I see a lot of sellers make. They just decide one day, okay, now I'm ready to sell, and they don't even know where to start. And that then sets them back because they get so intimidated by the move and all the work that's involved. But you actually were really smart, kind of know that it was in the future. You didn't know exactly when it was going to be, but that way when you got to that point that you knew you were ready because you had been preparing all this time.
Exactly.
So that was very smart. That's a piece of advice I would give sellers. You know, if it is coming up that they do want to downsize, slowly but surely start to get rid of things because
in
too
addition,
much in last minute.
When you and I connected in January, you had sent me a PowerPoint and I took notes from it. And I had a list of over 50 things after I read that of things that I really needed to do to get the house seller ready. So I found that incredibly helpful.
Good. Well, you took the advice. So that's great. What were you most concerned about before putting the home on the market?
The value of the house, because I was selling it as is. The house is 105 years old, and although I've really struggled to keep the architectural integrity of the house, it's 105 years old. So I really wanted to make sure that I was up to date on maintenance and trying to take care of everything to turn it over in the same condition like I had it. I had such wonderful experience with this house.
Right. When it comes to listing, there's many choices of real estate out there. Why did you choose to list with me?
When there were a couple of reasons. Initially, when I had spoken to you in September, the next day you sent me all the information about you and your business, but didn't pressure me, you'd ask me when was I interested in selling, and I told you the beginning of January. You sent me your information, and then you contacted me exactly when I had told you I was going to be available. So you obviously put it in your phone, a reminder, and reached out to me. I also interviewed the top realtor in Floral Park, and the difference between her style and yours, you came in with data and with real information that was measurable, and I could see right away that you had a different way of attacking this problem of how to sell a house, and that appealed to me. It was very data driven. You looked at all the information that was available to you, and you came up with the right price. You came up with a great marketing strategy. And we did very well with the sale of the house. I was very happy with the results that we got.
Even though the ground was covered in snow, it was a tough time to sell.
Super
snowstorm
Bowl
after
weekend.
snowstorm.
Oh my good, that was that horrible snowstorm. I was snowed in. I had to have someone shovel me out.
That's right. That was tough times, but we got it done.
And we did the pictures that week, and
That's right.
we managed to get it all done.
We got it all done.
Hey, I wanted to share something for free. I prepared a home seller preparation checklist for residents of Queens and Long Island. This guide will give you everything you need to know about preparing your home for sale. So if you click on the link below in the comments, you'll download your own copy for free. Or if you visit maureenfolan.com, you'll be able to get your seller checklist there. So thank you so much, and let's get back to it.
What stood out to you about our approach in selling your home?
The thing that I thought was very interesting was that for all of the neighborhoods that you support or that you work in, you have somebody who lives in that neighborhood who is the point person. I worked with Bridget, who lives 5 blocks away from me, who knows all about the culture of Floral Park, who knows all the pieces that you need to know to live
To be a local, to be able to sell in a local neighborhood.
And she was wonderful. She really was. So I think that piece really helped. Also, it was very funny because my daughter was also in the process of selling one of her homes, and she kept saying, "Well, Mom, they'll put a the little lock box on the door, and the realtors will." I'm like, "No, they're not. Bridget's always going to be there." No, they don't do it. I said, "No, my people do it." And she was so impressed that your priority was always, to keep my house secure, to always have people here, that no one was walking around unattended, that everybody who came in to see my house was already pre-approved and was a real potential buyer. Mm-hmm. And the amount of traffic that we had and the amount of bids that we had after 3 days was crazy.
Right. Okay, so we had great results.
Yeah. On Super Bowl weekend in the snow.
That's right. With interest rates over 6%. What made you feel comfortable that we could handle the sale for you?
I felt very comfortable after that first meeting when you sat down at the table and whipped out the laptop and started a hotspot with your phone, and I knew you knew exactly what you were doing. Between you and Bridget, you always made me feel very comfortable. If I had any questions, we had an ongoing email chain, text chain of the 3 of us at all times. So even if I was just speaking to Bridget, you knew what was happening, so at any given time you could give input as well. The other thing that was so helpful, I did have a few things that had to be done. There was some painting that had to be done. I needed a handyman for some help. And every time I turned around, you had names of local tradesmen who could come in and help me. So that really was very helpful.
Right, that we're on the job and ready to go and not having to wait and show up one day and don't show up the other. So yeah, we have a team of people that actually show up, and it took me years to find this list of people, and there's people I've let go throughout the years, but I only work with the best because we need things handled in a professional manner in a quick time frame. So it's important that we get the people to do it. We have the people to do it. Were there any hesitations that you had at the start?
The only hesitations I had was I was unsure of the numbers of what the house's value was, and I was concerned about that. But once you came in with the comps and we looked at the neighborhoods and you were very confident in what you thought we should ask, I felt much better. I felt really secure. Once I made the decision to go with you and your company, I felt very confident in it, and I never had any second doubts.
Great, thank you. That's a nice answer. What part of the process surprised you the most?
I think the setting it up and staging it.
Okay.
Because I'm used to seeing my house a certain way, and Bridget came in and kind of looked at it with different eyes. So that was very helpful, and that we would just be able to move stuff for the pictures. But other than that, I was very comfortable with the whole process. I was overwhelmed at the thought of the pictures, because it's like, oh, I have to make sure the house is clean, I have to make sure everything looks nice.
Right.
But it really went very smoothly.
And the pictures came out great. They look beautiful.
So fast. Everything was done so quickly.
Right. How did you feel when the home sold in just 1 week?
Well, I mean, as you see, I have Penny here. So Penny and I left, and I had a Ring camera, which I did not look at, but it always went off and said, there's someone at your front door. So I saw how many people came in and out. Then by Monday, we had 6 bids by Monday morning, and someone had asked us to wait, that her husband was coming that afternoon. So by Tuesday, there were so many bids to choose from. You had the breakdown of how much was a mortgage, how much was cash. There were some cash offers. And I really felt like I had a lot of leeway in deciding who I wanted to sell the house to and in what capacity.
And which terms that because you had multiple offers to choose from, you were in a position to say, okay, you know what, I can go with this buyer. They're waiving this contingency. They're coming with a higher down payment. Because you were in a position because you had multiple offers, you were in a position to do that. Whereas if you're a seller and you just have one offer, you just have to take what you're given and you're at the buyer's mercy. But you were in a great position where there was multiple people who really wanted this house and started driving up the price. And we ended up getting a buyer that gave an amazing price, and we were even a little nervous that there was going to be any comps to justify it because it was the highest sale in the area. So you did all the right things in terms of preparing your home for sale, taking the advice that we gave you and just putting it out in the market and getting the right people through the doors, and got amazing results in a very short period of time.
Start to finish, the open house was Saturday, and by Friday night we had a signed contract.
Right, and you used our attorney as well, who was part of our
Just
team.
so nice. He's delightful.
He is.
Yes.
He's great. He's fast. He's responsive. Because sometimes as well, the attorney has a big part to do with the deal. Sometimes sellers have their own attorney, and their attorney won't send a contract out for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. And by the time they do, the buyer's already lost interest and walked. So it's important, like I said, that all the right people are involved in the transaction, just to make sure everything goes smoothly the way that it's supposed to.
It just was painless. It was seamless. There was like very little stress on my part. I kept going like when's the other shoe gonna fall?
Yeah.
Like when's something gonna go wrong? And I mean, knock on wood. Everything really has gone very, very smoothly.
Fantastic. If you were advising a friend in a similar situation, what would you tell them to do to get their home ready and what to expect in the home selling process?
I think the most important thing, and I tell friends of mine currently now, they need to start decluttering. That's like the first thing. When you're even contemplating, you just need to start getting rid of stuff. And then when you make the decision, I think the key is getting the right person, and I just really lucked out with you.
Aw, thank
So I think that's really a really critical piece.
Yes, but I like your advice of decluttering, because that's the same advice that I give, because people do not realize how much stuff they actually have until they start going through it. So starting early is key. Start to give away, start to donate. Anything you're not taking to your new place, start to get rid of it, because when buyers come into your home, they don't want to be distracted with your ornaments, your pictures. They want to be able to walk in, see the size and the space of the room, and envision them and their family living there. So that's why it's really important just to kind of have it as a blank slate. Is there anything about your experience that I haven't asked you, but you think is important for other people to hear who are considering this move?
I think that the most important thing is to find a team that you're comfortable working with, because you're entrusting your major investment in your life is your home.
Right.
You know, and everyone wants to walk away feeling that this was a good decision, that it was a good transaction, that they got the best price for what they have. And I walked away feeling like it was a win-win for all of us. I think I did very well. I'm grateful that your company will do very well with this. And it was just a very easy, positive experience.
That's great. Well, thank you for the opportunity. We're always grateful for amazing clients like you. And this has been, I told Sarah, who introduced us, and I've also, me and Bridget have spoken about it because we deal with a lot of clients. You were amazing because you literally took every piece of advice that we gave you, and you had also done your research beforehand and followed everything to a T, so you were completely prepared, and you were also very open to whatever we suggested. You said, okay, I'm going to trust what you're saying, and for that, I feel like the process went a lot smoother and you got amazing results. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, let me say goodbye to you, Rosina.
Maureen,
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.